As I said, the last parliamentary week for the year. Joining me now to wrap it all up, our first panel for this evening, One Nation Chief of Staff James Ashby and his other regular half, 2GB host Luke Grant. Gents, great to have you. I've enjoyed having you on the program all year.
Hi, Peter.
We'll talk about next year in a bit, but let's talk about how 2023 ended up, James. James, Parliament, of course, rose yesterday for the year. We're now halfway through the term. Give us your report card, if you might, for the government.
Well, I'd hate to put the government as a TripAdvisor listing because it would just be 0 stars. Look, it's very difficult to attack this in any other way than to say the government have failed the people of Australia. Anthony Albanese, starting from the moment he got into office, he was not focused on dealing with the real issues that this country faced. In fact, he was more interested in the Voice of Parliament, which you rightfully articulated at the start of the show. And that's what's led to this government actually having no agenda. So once the Voice failed, he has had no plans moving forward. Certainly no support in broad terms for industrial relations until what happened yesterday in the Senate, which was absolutely disgusting. And I know we'll talk about that further, but the report card is pretty poor. And Anthony Albanese, if he had family and friends, they would be very disappointed in their son if they were to bring a report card home like that. Horrible.
Yeah, well, the polls are also a pretty shocking report card for him this week, Luke. We've got a shocking news poll, 31% primary. YouGov yesterday gave him a 29% primary. Now, you want a primary with a 4 in front of it if you can get it,
yes.
But a 29 primary is diabolical. Yep. A coalition at 37, that's strong. The Greens very high at 15%. All this talk about a reset over summer, I got to ask the question, I mean, reset to what? If it's more of the same, they're still in trouble. Yeah. Do you think the government's sort of listening and ready to change?
I don't know if they can change. Look, I've got no doubt they're listening. They'll have people everywhere screaming from the rooftops saying, hey, you're about to be a one-term government. But, Peter, it's not one issue and it's not one minister. You know, we can count off cost of living. We can count off the Voice. We can count off the big Australia policy that no one saw coming. I mean, we opened the gates to 600,000 people. We end up with a couple of hundred plumbers. This is all about addressing the skill shortage. And then you've got Linda Burney, hopeless. Claire O'Neill, hapless. Andrew Giles, another. What about the Attorney General this week? So it's not one issue and it's not one minister, and he might reshuffle, but that ain't going to fix it. The problem is in here, and Peter, it's in here.
Yeah, you're spot on. And I think he's lost his confidence, particularly on the Voice.
I agree.
And I'd say that his heart is always on the left. I don't know how he moves into the centre on politics. Talk to me about those IR changes that went through. I want to say a bit of a grubby deal with the crossbench there, a whole lot of rights for union delegates, the criminalisation, James, of wage theft and a lot more. Give us your sense of how it's going to affect the economy, because that's the big push out today from business associations and the miners. They say, or they're calling the government, in fact, economic vandals.
Anthony Albanese certainly wears the bad Santa image coming into Christmas with what's occurred yesterday. This I didn't foresee. I didn't. BCA, the Business Council of Australia, had started making text messages to me and One Nation's office on Tuesday, Peter, suggesting that some background deal had been done with the crossbench, namely Jackie Lambie and David Pocock. And when the question was actually put to both sides of those independents, they flatly denied that they were doing any deals. Now, we learnt by Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, that was not the case. This is really mischievous. I want to know what deals were done, particularly with Lydia Thorpe. When you think about it, she was also instrumental in this. She was the fallback girl. She was the one that if Jackie Lambie or David Pocock pulled out last minute, they had the numbers still with her. So what is it that Lydia Thorpe gets for the Black Sovereign movement moving forward? A lot will come out in the new year. I think a lot of questions need to be asked over this Christmas break. If I was a journalist, I know a lot of the good ones go on holidays. but I wouldn't be letting up on this government. Make them work across the Christmas period. Ask them the questions, because there is some destruction coming for the whole country. And it's not just big business. I know that big business have been the most vocal on this, but I think a lot of small business are going to wake up in the new year and say, what the hell just happened to our industrial relations laws? Because we're now feeling it. I know they were trying to cool the economy with spending. Well, this is the oddest way to do it. I think there will be job losses off the back of this decision to make these industrial relations changes.
Let's go to the COP meeting overseas if we can. Luke, you got $100 million from Australian taxpayers, borrowed money, I might say here. This is to establish the Pacific Resilience Facility, so it's a fund. We're also rejoining another UN-backed green fund. This is for developing nations, which I might add includes China. And this reverses the position taken by Scott Morrison in 2018 to get us out of these funds. The Albanese government's gone over there amongst a crowd that are all pro-nuclear, saying that we're not going to be a part of it, but we're tripling our renewables. I mean, this is madness. Absolute madness.
And isn't it fascinating to see that there were 22 advanced nations, I know we've covered it before, but I just have to raise it. It was saying, let's triple our nuclear energy production. And what do we turn up with? We turn up with a bloke that only knows no to nuclear, not interested in investigating the fact that we have all this uranium in Australia, which has to be processed to understand, but it's just a flat no. You've got people over there with hundreds of limousines and private planes telling us, oh, don't fly anywhere, don't drive one of those old cars. And I think people are waking up, Peter. I really do. I just get a sense on the open line this week that people have had enough. They won't be spoken to by elites like they were during The Voice and now during this. They can work things out for themselves, and they can see the folly, particularly in Australia, where we could turn everything off and not make a jot of difference.
Oh, spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. I do think they're looking at this and saying the emperor's got no clothes. James, you're not going to get away with it. You were going to get a question here. I'll tell my viewers, for many years I've been telling James Ashby he's too good to be just a staffer behind the scenes. He's got to get out there, run for a seat, get into Parliament. Well, he's announced that, or Pauline Hanson has announced that overnight. So you're stepping from the back room onto centre stage, James. Tell us what made you want to take the leap.
Yes. Well, I do thank you for your kind words, Peter, and I do acknowledge the fact you've been pushing me for quite some time. But it's not just you. I don't know whether you've been paying your viewers off to write to head office as well and say the same thing, but that has been very encouraging. I do want to say thank you to you, because without platforms like this and without programs like yours, I guess I probably wouldn't have had that encouragement or the same level of encouragement. There's been stacks of business people here locally. You are so well watched in the regions, Peta Credlin. I must 100%. Just say you are just a breath of fresh air. So many people pull me up, whether it be on the streets around here in Yeppoon or Rockhampton or in airports, and they say, we just love that program. You and Bolt and the whole Sky network, they just commend. And we see you here regularly. We know you hear the voices of central and regional parts of this country, so we appreciate the fact that you actually give us a voice. And we've got a lot to change here. We've got a very stale, run-down Labor government here in Queensland. I would like to see the back end of them. There is no way in hell One Nation will do deals with Labor. I would rather drink arsenic than do a deal with Labor ahead of this next election. So Queenslanders can count on the fact that One Nation will supply confidence and certainly help a coalition government form the next government here in Queensland. So I'll be the first to put it on the record. We want change, and I hope the rest of Queensland does too. And I hope they support me and my efforts here in Keppel.
Wow.
I don't think I'm going to let you off the hook from being a part of my show next year, even though you're a candidate. I'll lock you both in. Gents, thank you for your time. See you next year.